Proofing. The Chiefs have just come out on the ice for a warm-up period. They're about to try for their 5th consecutive win. They're getting a good round of applause from their own booster club, who have traveled all the way from Charlestown to be here in Peterborough tonight.
Are you a first responder, a veteran, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a Let's Go Blues radio listener? Of course you are. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call real estate superstar Mike Burgoyne today at 314-753-4060 or email him at mike@strikewithmike.com to earn special rates today.
60 Pickleball is an industry leader in high-end pickleball paddles. Use discount code CPRICE10 to get 10% off at 60pickleball.com. Don't get stuck on the court with an inferior paddle. Go next level with 60.
Have you subscribed to the LGB Minute podcast yet? It's a 5-minute weekly St. Louis Blues podcast hosted by Jeff Ponder that is released multiple times a week to fill the gap between Let's Go Blues radio episodes. Subscribe today.
You're watching Let's Go Blues Radio, the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast with your hosts Kurt Price, Bill Day, and what appears to be a Peter Dinklage cosplay. So just sit back, grab a beer, and enjoy the best blues hockey talk on YouTube.
Welcome to episode 18 of season 14. This is episode number 499, all time of the often imitated, never duplicated. This guy wants to tell me we're living in a community. Don't make me laugh. I'm living in America, and in America, you're on your own. America's not a country. It's just a business. Now fucking pay me. We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. Let's Go Blues Radio. To interact with the show on social media, our handle on all the socials is at LGB Radio. I'm Kurt Price. My co-hosts for the big show tonight are Jeff Ponder and Bill Day. The agenda for tonight's big show includes discussion about the Blues kind of suck right now. Perunovich and Saad are essentially no longer St. Louis Blues. Well, Perunovich is not. Saad essentially gone. The Blues split 2 games. I'm sorry, that's from last week. And we'll talk about some roster moves and the Blues struggles lately. So all that and more on this latest live episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
Wonderful. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good considering the Blues. I'm good considering the state of the Blues. So
yeah, I mean, Blues kind of dominate our lives a little bit, right? You live and you die with your sports team. Yeah, it's been a little rough, but other than that, life's fine. Working some bill hours, as I call them, long hours,
some billable hours
every day. They are literally billable hours. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a little rough there, but I've been able to schedule it enough to where I'm still able to watch the Blues games. I also big thing happened to me over the weekend. I got to play pond hockey. So that was fun.
Nice. Before the ice softened up.
Yeah, it's really weird because I checked a little pond out here in my area and literally went to drill in and everything around it broke. And I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to play today. But then my buddies in St. Charles were like, come out, trust me, the ice is fine. They drilled down 9 inches deep and no problem at all. Yeah. Go ahead, laugh it up. Laugh it up, fuzzball.
You went up there and they drilled 9 inches deep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was awesome. We went out there in the subdivision that my buddy lives in, and they got a huge pond in the middle, and it was awesome. We were out there for a couple hours, and I got nice and sore, but it was well worth it. Yeah, but the 9 inches deep ice, man, it made me real sore.
Drilling 9 inches will definitely make you sore.
Oh man,
Both on both ends of that equation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Bill, you
Yeah. I was not in any way involved with drilling 9 inches this weekend.
okay? All right.
You never are.
Yeah.
No.
Never am. That's not my cup of tea. I'm kind of downtrodden with the Blues' terrible performances here lately. And yeah, I mean,
Well-
just I need happiness out of my life, and
just think of it this way. This team is the expectations for the team were not high this year, right? They weren't.
No.
They were. You hope they could get in the playoffs this season. That was the hopes, right? So,
right.
My biggest hope was just to shove it in Dom's face again.
Yeah.
Like, no, this team is not worse than Chicago Blackhawks. Which,
that's
hey, at least we can still say that.
no, not even close, right? I mean, this team's a middle of the pack team that's gonna probably miss out on the playoffs, barring a crazy surge. So
Yeah. It's. I mean, just it would be nice if we would have a few more, up moments. But the last 3 games, it just kind of feels like there was a flatlining, and it's just like,
well,
at a time when I could use some more smiles.
and it's a time where the Blues needed to play well too, right? And this is the tough part of the schedule, and it's just getting, and they've got a lot of games in the tough part of the schedule to go yet. So this is the beginning of it, and they haven't gotten out to a very good start on the tough part of the schedule.
Yeah,
Nope.
our next game is
well, you know what?
Yeah.
When they beat Calgary twice, and then they lost Utah, but then they beat Vegas. They've won 3 out of 4. They beat Calgary twice, beat Vegas, and that second game against Vegas, I'm like, that's gonna be, and then it's been downhill ever since.
For me,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for me, I expected to get 2 out of 4 wins here in the last 4 games. So they got 1, which is great. It's just when you get the 3-game skid, that just makes it look way worse. So to me, it's like
losing to Vancouver was rough. That was bad.
Vancouver was that was one you had to win.
Yeah.
I think even
That's
if
a
you
4-point
maybe if you get a couple overtime losses in there, you can make it work. But losing 3 in a row and 1 to a team you're chasing is a bad look.
Right. A team that you're chasing, and you've kind of aired some dirty laundry about yourselves, saying, we haven't got the starts we've wanted. We got to be prepared. Like that's been a theme. I think Montgomery's been doing as much as he can, trying to throw in, whatever hair metal thing he's got going on, and that it's what, for whatever reason, the Blues just absolutely don't know how to start a game right now. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, 3 in a row, down 2-0 to start the game. Trees says, "Evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the company while I prepare a spreadsheet of comics."
Please elaborate.
That sounds. I like the way that sounds. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I think I like it.
So, okay, let's take guesses real quick. My guess is
he's
got a bunch of comic books and he's wanting to sell them. So he's making a spreadsheet of all the comics he has so he can list them online.
I'm going to say that, but I don't think he's necessarily wanting to sell them. I just think he's doing spreadsheet work to catalog and log his
so inventory sale. I'm going to go want list.
All right.
Announcements. The LGB Minute podcast chugging along. Jeff, you released one yesterday, right?
Yeah, every day this week so far. Again, don't release them day the podcast of this episode of this show comes out, so there will not be one tomorrow. Hopefully one Friday, we'll see. It's been, it's kind of fun because sometimes it's like, with this break, what the hell do you talk about, so obviously the Saad news, which we'll get to, the Perunovich news, but I've been able to like look a little deeper into the NHL standings and upcoming games for some of the Blues opponents. And in the past, I've done like a check-in on the Springfield Thunderbirds and other prospects and other areas. So it's kind of fun. Like for me, like it's adding more knowledge to me, which is great. But it's also like, you know, a little educational for anybody who wants to just kind of get checkups on players and other league news and stuff, especially during breaks. So, yeah, check it out. Let's Go Blues Minute. And we're on every single podcasting app.
Trees does say his cousin suddenly passed away, and he's making a spreadsheet of all of his eBay listings to eventually sell. So I'm sorry to hear that. Suddenly passed.
Yeah.
I
was closest.
Yeah. And he does ask how many boxes of comics do we think there are?
Oh my Lord! Oh, how many?
64
comics.
64. Yeah. So I mean, now comic book guys would know how many comics are in a box because that's.
I'm going to say 27.
27. I'm going to say
65. Say 65.
One box.
One. There you go.
I bid one box, Bob.
Of course, the guy with the name Price is going to go Price is Right rules.
Yeah. Well, Trees did establish the rules. Price is Right rules on guesses. Closest wins all going over. So, yeah. So let us know, Trees. Again, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
We finally have a big announcement to officially share on the show. This came to fruition. Wow. Tree says
125.
Estimate is 125 comic book boxes. Woo!
I'm gonna guess they're maybe 100 comics in a box. Maybe I've seen the boxes.
I'm wondering if it's like the because I've got like those stackable file boxes. So I wonder if it's those, because if it's that, you're probably talking at least 100.
Yeah, that's what they are, I think. Ken Morris says he used to collect Marvel comics.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. So I don't know why that went away. Conan the Barbarian. Nice. It's a good one. That movie with Arnold, by the way, is basically a softcore porn for those of you who've never seen it.
I have not.
Basically, it is literally like sex, fighting. Then the movie just kind of ends. So interesting.
He says up to 250 comics per box.
Woo! Good Lord.
Hey. Man.
That's I comic book collecting. I had a few as a kid, a handful, maybe one box, something like that. That seems like something that I'd probably enjoy quite a bit. I never heavily got into it as a kid, but
so I've got the full what's it called? Nightfall, the full Nightfall series, which is the one where Bruce Wayne gets his back broken by Bane. Kind of the whole idea behind the third Christian Bale Batman movie. It's about him like handing the mantle over to this one guy, and basically this dude like gets drunk with power and starts killing people. And so then like Batman has to come back like 6 months later and then destroy this guy. So it's actually a really cool comic book series that I'm working through right now. So good stuff.
Trees, what would you say, if you know comic books as well as your cousin, is the most valuable comic he has? I'd be curious. Let us know. What?
I'm told this is very valuable.
I have that one.
Death of Superman. Yeah,
I have that one. Really?
Apparently the issue is there's some reprints out there, and I don't know how to tell if this is a reprint or not.
Well, I went out and got that.
If you are holding it, it is a reprint.
I got it when I was a kid, like when it first came out.
Yeah, I got that when it first came out too, because I thought, oh, this would be a cool one to have. And I thought everybody would have done that, so it wouldn't have been worth as much. But
right. I read that has sold on the original series, though it's the original one that came out, not the reprint, has sold on eBay for like $400 or $500.
Really?
Yeah. So
I'm
afraid
you knew it was going to be a collector's item when it came out.
I'm afraid to try and list it for that, because I'm afraid if someone buys it, instantly will be like, this is a reprint. And then it's just like, well, fuck.
Well, how do you know it's a reprint?
I don't know. That's what I'd like to find out. Because I've looked in like the inside label, there's nothing in there that says reprint, so I would imagine it's the original.
If there's only some tool you could use to research them, what would tell you is a reprint? I don't know.
Yep. All right, let's get into some stuff here. Too much comic book nerd talk. Big announcement for anyone local in St. Louis. And for those of you who like to tune in to the live show, who are listening right now, you can still do that next week. We are getting started a little earlier. Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on February 5th, we will be at the Geyer Inn in Kirkwood. That's at 220 South Geyer Road. We are going to be doing our 500th episode live from Geyer Inn. For those that are in the know, that is the bar that Jim Campbell owns. So we're hoping to get Soupy on in some way. But 500th show. Please come out and show your support. Not only is it support for us, but support for Soupy's bar. And that is, again, 7 o'clock, February 5th. We haven't talked about run of show yet, but Kurt, Bill, I would imagine we're just going to have a lot of fun. Obviously, we'll have blues talk in there, but we'll do trivia. We'll have prizes. I'm trying to line up a couple special guests. Do not miss that one. And again, if you only want to tune in online, we will still be doing it online. 7 o'clock start time for those of you, 7 o'clock Central, for those of you who want to tune in live. But if you're in St. Louis, please come out and support us. We'd love to see you, and we'd love to have a beer with you.
Yeah, it's not just owned by Campbell. It's a small little hockey bar. So yep, it'll be fun.
Yep. So you've been there. I've been there, I think, once or twice.
I've been there
for those that know the area, it's literally like almost right across the street from Kirkwood Ice Rink. So I popped in there after games, before games. I used to live out there, so it was, walking distance for me. But yeah, it is a small venue, but it's a nice venue to watch a hockey game.
It's cozy. Yeah. And they have it's too cold and gross outside right now but they have a nice area in the back where they have washers and bags and stuff in the back. So,
man, if it's nice weather, that would be interesting to do that one outside. That'd be fun.
Are you getting a haircut when you're there? Because they have a barber chair now. They do haircuts.
I don't think so.
That's one of the weirdest things. That is going to come up, the barber chair, on the show next week.
It will, for sure. We'll probably sit in it at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Joe Schmo says, wish I could be there, but 120 miles is a long way to go for a DWI. Yes, we do not encourage drinking and driving.
No,
so
we frown on it, actually.
We plan on doing that.
We do frown on drinking and driving. Do not encourage that, no. The official beers of episode number 499. We segue from a show next week in a bar to our beers of the episode. Episode number 499
with a message about not drinking and driving sprinkled in.
Guys, we're becoming responsible.
We are we go from irresponsible and immature to responsible men.
It only took 500 episodes.
Right. 499.
Got it
just in time. Just under the wire.
Yep.
If we did not hit it before 500, we would lose our podcast license. So that's a good thing.
It's true. Yes.
Official beers of episode number 499. You can follow each of us on the Untapped app. Jeff's handle J Ponder 94. Mine is C Price 12. Bill's is Billy Blue Note 33. Sir, Jeff.
I've got water tonight.
Oh,
so I'm totally lame again. I don't think I've had a beer for the show since the Winter Classic. So, yep, just some water tonight. Billiam. No, it's Kurt. It's Kurt.
It's Kurt. It's Kurt.
Okay. Well, okay. So I have a beer that Amy brought over and gave me. And I'm drawing a blank on how she acquired it. But chocolate orange stout.
Whoa.
Which I don't think I've ever had a chocolate orange beer before.
What is that from?
It is from, if I can read,
brewed it on the card here.
Yeah. Brewed and canned by Weld Works Brewing Company, which is in Colorado, Greeley, Colorado.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So I've obviously never had this, and she brought over one, and I'm opening it now. And you go ahead, Bill, and I'll give the review of this in a second.
All right. You don't have a chocolate orange to eat with it.
Man, I wish I did.
Like that'd
have been delicious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I am
sorry, but
no, you go ahead. You go ahead and give us your review as you suck down that foam.
It almost overflowed. That was close. It's a very, I don't know if you can see it. it's got a very slow. I mean, it's not like a Guinness, but it's got a very slow to develop head, kind of like a Guinness does. That's interesting.
Very nice.
Okay, go ahead.
What you got, Bill?
So I'm keeping with the darkness theme, and I have Surly the Darkness Imperial Stout. Really awesome can. Great graphic.
That's cool.
This is the 2024 Surly regular Imperial Stout variant. I have a couple others. There's one. They had two main variants that they were selling. One was cola, which I'm really looking forward to, and the other one I avoided entirely, and that was limoncello. I just can't do that. Limoncello with Imperial Stout just doesn't seem to go. So
there's a lot of B's in this message from Amy.
Yes.
Bought at the Brothers Beer and Bourbon House in Sunset Hills. Are you sure it's not Brentwood?
I was gonna say.
All right. Yeah, that's I would have not. I had no chance in remembering that when she told me. So,
Bill, your can is I would go as far to say is it's very metal.
Ooh,
I feel like that's something Mike McKenna would love.
Yeah. That's they do a very good job doing that kind of heavy metal theme. Yeah.
I love this beer. This is good. You can. I always appreciate, even if I don't like the flavors. I always appreciate when a beer actually tastes like what the label says it is, and this tastes like chocolate and oranges. You can taste them both, and there's no hoppy aftertaste. Well, it's a stout, you wouldn't have that really, but I guess. But it's not like there's no strong aftertaste or anything. It's just it's a smooth stout that tastes like chocolate and oranges. And the label, it's funny because the name is Chocolate Orange Stout, and on the side it says with oranges and chocolate. You think so?
Well, they're consistent.
Yeah, I guess. But that's good. Thank you, Amy. It's delicious.
Well, I guess we should get into the show, huh?
As I tried to sneak in an extra drink there, and you guys went quiet.
Well,
we were
moving on.
Prowess.
I can't drink my beer. So Jimmy Roberts, Curtis Joseph, and Wayne Babich are inducted into the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame. The ceremony is at the MAC in downtown St. Louis on Friday.
The MAC.
The MAC, the MAC, yeah.
Does anybody call it the MAC?
Yeah. The Missouri Athletic Club.
I don't think I've ever heard that before. I've always called it the MAC.
Well, no, don't you sound silly.
I do. Clearly, it's me.
The puck drop ceremony was at the Blues Stars game. And they had Joseph on for bits and pieces during the broadcast. That was pretty cool. Love Joseph. Joseph's my favorite goaltender. I don't care that Bennington won a cup. I mean, I like Bennington. Enjoy Bennington. Appreciate him. I appreciate you. But Curtis Joseph, that was my guy growing up. So
did you see any of the ceremony at the at the MAC?
No.
Yes.
So
I did.
Bennington's. I love. So you saw Bennington's? Yeah. So at one point, I don't know. I'll admit I don't watch those. I get bored with them, but I'll watch like the highlights that they'll post after. And so I watched. So I guess Bennington was sitting at one of the tables, and they had John Kelly, I guess, going around talking to people. And when he goes up to Jordan Binnington when they were talking about Joseph, and he's like, what do you think about Curtis Joseph? I didn't know. I guess I don't know if they're from the same town, but I know Binnington played as a kid in the same town Joseph was born in. So he told, well, it's funny because at first he's like, John Kelly's like holding the microphone way above his head because he's tiny and Binnington's huge. And so then as like Binnington's getting ready to go into it, he just goes, I'll just take the microphone. And he just takes it from John Kelly.
That was pretty.
And he tells this pretty long story about like how he grew up and, basically like every goalie coach he had at the schools he went to talked about watch tape of Curtis Joseph. Like this dude is just the best like positional goaltender. They talked about like how he's like the nicest person in the world. And like, these coaches even told them, like, if you make it to the show, be like Joseph, basically. Like, always have time for the fans.
Didn't he go to Joseph's hockey camp, too?
I think so. Yeah.
I think the story there was that Joseph, he wound up at a camp that Joseph attended
Okay.
as a refresher, trying to get back to the basics of his game. And so
Yeah, that's what
I
it
think
was.
he was 13.
That's what it
Bennington
was.
13. And yeah,
Okay.
Bennington and Joseph were participants in the same goalie camp, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
I would strongly recommend looking up that clip. I think the Blues have it on their YouTube channel of this thing, because he tells it, and you can see Joseph just, he's just eating it all in. I mean, it's like one of the best goaltenders in the NHL currently is sitting there telling you how amazing of a guy and a goalie you are. And for Bennington, Bennington's kind of comes off as this closed off individual who won't share like sentimental stuff with the media. So like hear him tell that story was really heartfelt. And then to see like Joseph up on stage, like kind of talk about it, reciprocate it. It was a really cool moment.
Wayne Babbage was originally drafted by the Blues, 3rd overall in 1978, making him the organization's highest draft pick ever to that point. He spent the first 6 seasons in St. Louis, appearing in 396 regular season games and logging 345 points overall during his tenure. Joseph originally came to St. Louis as a free agent in June of 89. A native of Keswick, Ontario. He spent his first 6 seasons with the Blues, dressing in 280 games and posting a 137, 96, and 34 record.
How about the fact that, and I don't feel like it's mentioned all the time, like Martin St. Louis, who, obviously great career in his own, Hall of Famer, undrafted Curtis Joseph.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible that a goalie, because that was when they had 9 rounds too. It's like, how the hell did he slip through the cracks like that?
Yeah, he talked about how appreciative he was that Ron Caron took a chance on him, right? So,
yeah, played at Wisconsin, and yeah.
So he led the NHL in save percentage in 1993 with 911. That's a different era, right? Led the league in total saves in 3 consecutive seasons, and that was always a thing too during that area with Joseph and the Blues, was that he faced so many shots. And that how many times did you hear this in the broadcast? He plays better when he sees more shots, right? They always said that.
Yep. And he was. I remember being a kid and just literally like 6-7 saves at a time. And it wasn't like bad rebound control. It was like miraculous saves that he's making that he has no business making. But it just goes back to those to me were and not to steer away from Joseph talk, but like Ken Wilson, when he would have his "Oh baby" over Curtis Joseph, I always felt like that was like the most genuine he was with his "Oh babies," because it was like, "Oh baby, Cujo," and it's just like in the moment, it's like, Jesus, what a save was that?
Yeah, it's miraculous saves, especially rebound saves. You, as an announcer, you got to be a lot more spontaneous than like you see Brett Hull's on the ice, and he's already got it loaded in the the back of his mind. He's going to use it. But yeah, that's definitely like I agree with that 100%. The best "Oh babies" were for Curtis Joseph saves.
Yep. 93-94, he earned one of his 2 career appearances in the All-Star game, and finished the year with a 36-23-11 record, a season that still stands as the 2nd winningest campaign for a goaltender in franchise history. And Joseph ranks 4th in Blues history in wins, 2nd in total saves, and 7th in save percentage, while his 17 career assists remain 10 more than any other goalie. That was another thing with him in Blues history. He liked to handle the puck and shoot the puck up the ice, right? And he had that unique way of doing it, right? The little hinged flick off the knee, right? Of the pad, Bill?
He would do that, or he would do, what is completely
turn his stick around.
Right. Turn his stick around. And that is, something that will never be taught in the NHL. Even at that time, it was completely different. It was one of the most unique things, but he was very effective at it. Don't recall him giving up a lot of turnovers because of that.
Blues were a high scoring team at the time too, so it's like they had high powered scorers. So you just get the puck up the ice and let them do their thing.
Yeah. I had a friend that lived up the street from me that used to play street goalie for me, and yeah, he was the same way. He always would kick his stick to play the puck. He had the basically the incorrect curve, so he could turn it around and use it. And I'm like, dude, you are just following Curtis Joseph to a T. But it like you said, it worked for him. It was perfect for Joseph. And also the Joseph curve on the stick for where the hand goes, that was always
The Curtis curve.
as hell too. The Curtis curve, yeah.
Yep.
Joe Schmo says Cujo either smothered it or kicked it 30 feet out, and that's
Yep.
it's pretty accurate.
Yep. Yep.
He was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, occasionally he'd mix in a flare out windmill save, but yeah, that's a pretty good description.
Such an acrobatic goalie. One of the most acrobatic goalies to that point in NHL's history, right? I mean, he's of course then Hasek comes along and
and
redefines it, but yeah. But he was Joseph was fantastically acrobatic. So much fun to watch. Jimmy Roberts was the first skater drafted by the organization in the 67 expansion draft. The original blue of the Montreal Canadiens, a versatile player. The Toronto, Ontario native spent time at both forward and defense for the Blues, totaling 395 regular season games and 157 points across 6 seasons. In St. Louis, he helped lead the Blues to 3 consecutive appearances in the Cup final in the franchise's first 3 seasons and appeared in back-to-back All-Star games in 69 and 70. He was also captain in 71-72 before returning to Montreal for his second stint with the Canadiens. He was then reacquired by the Blues in 77 and played his final season with the team in 77-78. So,
assistant coach filled in as a general manager, I believe. He's
Yep. No, I was just saying, he wore a lot of hats, kind of like Bobby Plager did in the organization. I mean, Bobby Plager did just about he was a ticket salesman. He did everything. Every job the Blues had, I think he did at one time.
Yep. Big Beaver asked me, were you talking about Wilson? That is actually, he's talking about former Let's Go Blues Radio co-host for a summer, Justin Wilson. No, I am not talking about him. Another guy named Nathan that lives up the street from me. But Jimmy Roberts, he's a guy. So I asked my brother, and so obviously I'm giving away one of the answers here. Who was Joel Quenneville's first 2 assistant coaches when he took over?
Roberts.
Jimmy Roberts is one.
Jimmy Roberts is one.
And Bob Plager.
I was going to say Plager.
That is not correct. It is a gentleman who has passed away, unfortunately. One of the greatest coaches in NHL history.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Roger Nielsen.
Roger Nielsen was the other assistant. Yep.
Okay. All right.
But Joel Quenneville clearly, is taking away recent issues. One of the greatest coaches in NHL history, came up learning from Jimmy Roberts and Roger Nielsen. Clearly speaks a lot to the volume of what Jimmy Roberts brought to the organization. I'll admit, last year, I don't know if I said this on the show, I was surprised when Keith Tkachuk made the Blues Hall of Fame before Jimmy Roberts. I thought, man, Jimmy Roberts, original Blue, a guy that stuck with the organization, like you said, like a Plager. Just surprising it's taken, year 3, year 4 for that to happen, but I'm glad he's in.
Tkachuk was by far the better player, but
right.
I get it. Didn't mention though that Wayne Babbage was the organization's first 50 goal scorer, 54 goals.
That's true.
Him and Fedorko and Sutter on the same line there.
My a friend of mine didn't know who that was, and I said basically it was Brett Hall before Brett Hall.
Yeah, for a short time. Yeah,
that was
Joey
was our
Mullen
guy
before Joey Mullen.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God, don't get me started on Mullen. God, he should have been here for a lot longer than he was.
Yeah,
didn't want to pay him.
Yeah, if you look at Babbage's stats, right, he had the 54 goal season, and then he struggled to break 20 after that, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, he was one of my favorite players growing up. I know I've told the story about him hanging out and waiting for my parents with me when we got in the time I went to Philadelphia with the team. Really nice guy. I got to meet him on another occasion, going to a Blues game, they had one of the things where they would set up players at different spots in the old arena to get an autograph from a player, and we wound up in the same section where he was, so I got another autograph from him, and it was amazing. Always nicest guy, and just like so talented. Like getting to see some of those highlights of that 81-82 team where they did, just played out of their minds. Watching him, he was immensely talented, right? You don't get drafted third overall if you don't have that. And just, kind of crazy that his stats kind of flatlined after that.
Ken Morris says Roger Nielsen was the first coach to use VHS recordings of games to teach players. I don't have any reason to doubt this, so I will just chalk it up as being true.
Yeah. I've heard that.
True.
Okay, I never heard that.
And Ken Morris, by the way, dropping tons of knowledge in the chat tonight. Talked about Jean-Guy Talbot, Scotty Bowman, lots of stuff in there for those of you who are watching live. I'd love to read them all, Ken, but you're just a wealth of knowledge, and we are not a 4-hour show, at least tonight.
Next week.
By the way, I did buy this on at the game.
Nice.
Very nice.
Curtis Joseph Hall of Fame puck, $20.
Man, for a fucking puck.
I absolutely hated spending it, but I'm like,
you know what?
I need to get something from tonight.
I think $20 is cheaper than the All-Star game pucks were going for when they sold them. They were $24.
Yeah.
I thought that was insane.
Absolutely
for a puck that cost $0.25 to make.
I was gonna say, with the graphics, we're talking maybe $1. I mean, you're
just
making so much off these things.
It's just crazy, and it's a chunk of rubber.
Yep.
Vulcanized, right? But it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You're paid that premium for vulcanization. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, right.
Are the ones that they give away in the shop though? Are those like high quality game pucks? Or are they just? Like,
I'm pretty sure they're the same. Because I think they produce them, they vulcanize the rubber, then they put the graphics on.
Okay, all right. So we're due for break. We'll take that, and then on the other side of that break, we're going to talk about the last 3 games the Blues have played, and then we'll get into some roster moves that the Blues have made. You are listening to Kurt, Bill, and Jeff on Let's Go Blues Radio.
We'll return after these messages.
As a hockey player, Mike Burgoyne knows a thing or two about making the perfect play. And when it comes to real estate, he's always ready to score the winning goal for his clients. If you're a first responder, a veteran, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a Let's Go Blues Radio listener looking to score the home of your dreams, you'll receive special rates with Mike. Go ahead, shoot some questions his way, and he'll have the answer quicker than Curtis Joseph on a breakaway.
Curtis Joseph got the pedal down!
Any barriers? Mike will mow them down like Chris Pronger in front of the net. He'll score you your dream home or sell your existing home faster than a Brett Hall one-timer.
Flip past the Hall. He shoots. He scores!
See Burgoyne's real estate prowess in action today by emailing him at mike@strikewithmike.com or by calling 314-753-4060. That email again is mike@strikewithmike.com, and that phone number is 314-753-4060. Getting Mike Burgoyne on your team will be the boost your power play needs.
The battle for the top spot in the league is on the line. Many warriors have entered the concrete jungle, but when the smoke clears, only one will remain. They all want it, but only one shall have it. Hide your children, lock your doors. Those with weak stomachs should almost certainly look away. This is Big Boy Pickleball. You have been warned.
already know that you love hockey, and you obviously already love the Let's Go Blues Radio podcast. But what about filling the gap between weekly Let's Go Blues Radio episodes? That's where the LGB Minute comes in. Hosted by Jeff Ponder, the LGB Minute is an entertaining, down and dirty, 5-minute St. Louis Blues podcast released multiple times a week to keep you informed of all things St. Louis Blues. So make sure to subscribe to the LGB Minute anywhere you listen to podcasts, like right now. Do it now. Just click subscribe. It's easy. Please. Now.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
Of course, we had to get some video of Kurt playing pickleball.
It's
You're gonna have to put on the pads. You've got some goaltending reflexes, my friend.
Yeah, you do.
those were fun. Those some of those clips are from our ladder league during the summer. So it's a good time. Bunch of bangers playing in that league too. All right. The Blues lose 3 in a row after defeating Vegas on Monday last week. The Blues lost to the Golden Knights, Stars, and the Canucks on Thursday. The loss was to Vegas 4-2. Hofer was in net for this game. I think we talked about this, and we wanted to see Bennington back in net, but that did not happen because the Blues are doing the 2 games for Bennington and 1 for Hofer, regardless of who they're playing, which I think we all disagree with. It didn't work out in this game. I couldn't watch the start of this game because, I eventuly could, but FanDuel was not broadcasting.
Oh yeah,
they were off the air. All you saw was a FanDuel screen.
I think it was with your provider was the issue.
It was just DirecTV. It was just anybody, and a lot of people online I saw had it. So DirecTV streaming. I don't know if it was DirecTV as well. You'd think it would be same, but anyway. But DirecTV stream people definitely. Maybe some DirecTV people, but it was.
Yeah,
I mean, some didn't have it. So and some did. But that was frustrating. So I had to pull up the app to watch the game, and I missed the first 3 goals of this game.
Oh, yeah. What a shame you had to miss that first one 19 seconds in.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Of course, it's the smuggest motherfucker in the league, Mark Stone, that has to score it.
Yeah. Who did you see what he did? Was it last night? He dove onto a guy's knee. Did you guys see that?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. It was. Who were they playing last night? Totally. They're coming out of the zone, and he's like, kind of coming in a little bit to the blue line, and the defense has the puck, and he just dives towards the guy's knee, and he had to be helped off the ice. And I mean,
Miro Heiskanen of the Stars.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. He's Stone.
So he brought that shit to the front door of my fantasy team. I hate him even more now.
I think Ray Ferraro, I think, was calling the game on color, I think. And he goes, and when on the replay, he goes, "What is he doing?"
Yeah, he says, "What's he doing, man?" I just heard
what's
him
he doing,
say
man? Yeah, I'm like, it's
that
Mark
is
Stone,
bad.
Man. Yeah, I don't know what he was doing either. It was like he didn't trip and fall. Didn't look like it. He didn't toe pick. He was
diving.
He just lunged into his knee,
ran his body into his leg, dude.
Yeah,
that's suspend that fucker.
And his knee bent the wrong way, like sideways, and it didn't look too good.
Oh, suspend that motherfucker. God, I hate that guy. I hate that guy. He might be number one.
Why couldn't Jamie Benn be on the ice at that point? Because if he was on the ice, he would have just 2-handed him across his skull.
I would have loved to see Ben just absolutely destroy Mark Stone.
But so Stone was the guy that got Vegas on the board first on a terrible giveaway by Fowler. That was just, I'm glad I missed that because I'd have just been like, are you fucking kidding me? I just sat down 1-0.
That was literally that's what happened to me. I literally turned the game on right at puck drop, and then Fowler, I don't really know. I mean, I know that as defensemen, we like to try and make that beautiful pass, like between the stick and the leg of the forechecker, but like, Jesus Christ. Like, come on, man. You're the last man back. You got one guy on you. Make the easy play. He tries to put it across Stone's body, and it's just a bad move.
Yeah, and Stone does good with stick and lane. And Stone was right on top of him too. I mean, Big Beaver says Stone was tripped into Heiskanen. I'll have to look at it again. When I saw a few replays before, I didn't notice that, but
he might have been. But I still feel like he threw his body into his leg.
We don't accept Stone apologists on this.
No,
show.
that's right. Let us hate on Stone.
Here.
What the hell? We want to hate on Stone. This is
Get out of here.
We're members of the Stone Haters Club.
Yep.
We need stickers. Stone Haters Club. Yeah. So Vegas was up 2-0 by the 9-minute mark, and then that's a broken record lately. And then Caillou scores, Vegas scores, Thomas scored late to make it 3-2. Hurdle into net goal, and Vegas ends their 4-game losing streak. The Blues.
What a weird situation at the end of that game too, with that empty net goal. The referees really botched that. That was odd. Announce it. Really, at the end of the day, all they did was wrong was announce to the crowd that the Blues were challenging. But it's like it's automatically reviewed. You don't need to announce shit. Like odd.
They did botch that. That was weird.
Yep.
So and they were saying, and I think Rivers, I was surprised that Rivers was so adamant that it was offside because I thought he had control of the puck too. I'm like,
he did.
I'm like, Jamie, you do know that if you have control of the puck, you can skate him backwards.
That was that was the Blues apologist coming out in him, hoping the Blues could come back and still get a tie. But I thought same thing. I thought worth a challenge, especially that late in the game, but clearly not offside.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, Fedorko had it completely right on the post game, which is kind of crazy. Like when Bertie's got the sane, rational explanation for why it should have counted.
I've been enjoying him a lot this season. I think I've always loved Bernie, and we all will. But this season, I've enjoyed a lot of his takes. He's been a little more fiery, which I like.
Yeah. He's getting older, so he cares less.
Exactly.
Right? Like old man doesn't care. He just says what he wants to say. Speaks his mind. I was never. I love Bernie. I love Bernie. But I always thought he was not a good color guy on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did much better when he was between the benches, and I thought he's best by far in the studio. In between periods, analyzing. Mm-hmm. That's where he shines. He's good at that. Even though he's a big homer, he will tell it like it is, and he'll and more so than the other guys, right? To some degree. So I appreciate that about him. He's a keeper.
Yep.
Blues lose 2-0 the next game against Dallas. It was the Blues' first shutout of the season, I believe, or first time they were shut out. 2 goals in the first 2 goals in 2+ minutes during the first period. Weird first goal. Kind of just found its way through a few people, and Parayko missed it, and it just ended up on Dadonov's stick and scores a goal on.
I was
Binnington?
Right there for that. I was 6-7 rows behind Binnington, and I saw that play develop, and I thought, Jesus,
that's a roller hockey goal. That's a roller hockey goal. That's bad. That's just bad coverage and defense, and just
Yep. And overall in this game, I actually thought the Blues played really well. I enjoyed a lot of their game.
I did too.
It's just, and I hate to say it, especially with them losing so many big games lately. That's just a case of you gotta solve the hot goalie. And I thought Casey DeSmith played very well. First period shots were 21-10 in favor of St. Louis. 21 shots in a period.
Yeah, I was shocked.
And you're not scoring a goal. That's insane. That just says the goalie is dialed in.
Hasn't that been the case though for with Blues and goalies that forever? Like they get it's not necessarily the Hall of Fame goalies that come here and whoop them. It's these backups and these guys with 5-6 starts under the belt in the NHL that give them trouble.
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, Stars are on second of back-to-backs. They played Vegas and Dallas the night before. Blues were the more rested club. Right? How many times did we hear that throughout the first half of the game? Oh, the Blues will come on in the second half.
Every time,
take it over.
Right? Every time I hear that, I'm thinking it doesn't matter. This team does not take advantage of teams on the second day. They're playing back to backs. They never. They haven't all year. It doesn't matter. Oh, they should be tired. No. The Blues don't make the other team look tired. They just don't.
Right. And, you're not facing, Jake Ottinger. So you're like, oh, we have a really good shot in this game. And the Blues just couldn't figure him out. And
Well, and you get like a
I
little.
thought DeSmith was great, but
I think you get a little bit of a push too with it being such a big, like the Hall of Fame game. You've got literal legends in the building. The crowd, trust me, was pumped up. It was a very exciting night. And it's just the Blues just could not solve DeSmith, and it was so infuriating.
And then Monday, the Blues lost to Vancouver 5-2. This was a game after the Blues lost these last two, because they were coming off winning 3 out of 4. They beat Calgary twice. They lost to Utah, which sucked. But then they came back and they beat Vegas. So I'm like, okay, they won 3 out of 4. They're playing pretty good hockey. And even before that, when they lost some games, they're still playing pretty good hockey. But yeah, so and then losing to these 2 games, I'm thinking you gotta beat Vancouver now. You have to. You're chasing them, and you just lost 2 games against good teams. Played good against Dallas, just didn't win, and they just couldn't get it done against Vancouver. Obviously the goaltender interference review when it was 1-0 Vancouver and the Blues scored, and they waved it off for goaltender interference, and after review it was upheld, and because the Blues challenged it, and I thought,
what did you guys think? Was that goalie interference?
No. Okay. Did he interfere with the goalie? Yes. Was it his fault? Absolutely not. And I'll say this: even though he went into the crease, he's skating towards the crease. Okay. A lot of people have said on social media, these discussions going back and forth, that he was going into the crease anyway. He's going into the crease. If you go into the crease and you make contact, that's it. That's not always the case, but he was hit before he entered the crease. Would he have went in anyway? Probably. Right. But I think if he's not cross-checked twice towards the goalie while he's in the crease, I think he easily curls left of the goalie and doesn't make contact. I think it's a no-brainer, because if you see how his skates are pointed and how he's trying to stop and cut left, he wasn't able to do that because he was shoved in the goalie. So
yeah, I think that after the first cross check, if Hughes leaves it at that and he continues on the same trajectory, okay, go ahead and wave it off. But he got him twice, right? And that's, to me, it felt like giving a superstar player preferential treatment, not giving him, not blaming him for Holloway going into Lankinen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I'll agree. I think the reason it was called no goal at the end of the day after the review was because they called no goal on the ice. I feel like if they would have said it was a goal and then Vancouver challenged, I think they would have upheld the goal. I think to them, I think it was a 50-50, and for them it was, okay, let's just stick with what we originally called.
Did you see the explanation from the NHL, what they gave? I think it was Korak or Rutherford shared on social media. They said the explanation the NHL gave said Holloway went into the crease and made contact with the goaltender. They didn't say anything about the cross checks or nothing. And I thought, what the fuck? I mean, that's the whole point behind challenging, was the cross checks. I mean, and if you look at the replay, he is cross checked when he's like a good foot outside the crease the first time.
Yep.
And then once he's in the crease, he's cross checked the second time right into the goalie. So I don't understand while he's trying to turn. So I've never understood that. I've never understood. It doesn't seem like the NHL puts enough weight on defensemen pushing forwards into goalies, because you see this goal, the goals waved off often when this happens. It's like they don't care about what the defense does.
I just don't. As a defenseman myself, I've never understood pushing a guy into the fucking goalie. Like, to me, and Bill, tell me I'm insane, if I see a guy going to the crease and going towards the net like that, I'm not helping him into the crease. At most, I'm going to let him go there if I can't stop him. And then afterward, I'm going to fucking tell him, hey, don't ever do that shit again. But I'm not going to go in while he's on top of the goalie and shove him into my goalie. I've never understood that.
Well, they know that if they push him into the goalie and the goal is scored and goes in, it's not going to count.
But still, you're putting a chance on hurting your goaltender.
Yeah.
I would not risk that.
I think 99% of the time it's just a reactionary play, right? You throw the cross check to try to protect your goalie when your body's acting faster than your brain. And
you're trying to keep the guy from going in front of the goalie.
Right. And
so you're trying to keep him out from in front.
It's an instinctual move to try to prevent it, but at the end of the day, you're just helping it along.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I'll say again with this one, last thing I'll say about it is I didn't so much have a problem with them calling the goal back. Well, not calling it back, but saying sticking with their initial call. I thought that's a 50-50. I actually had no problem with it. The problem I have with it is the NHL rule. That is such a ticky-tacky chance that literally, like I said, I think if the officials on the ice call it a goal, I think the review is upheld and it's a goal. So to me, this is where I have a problem with the rule. Blues should not get a fucking penalty there. And I know that's the rule, but I just hate it when it's that close. And it's literally comes down to, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, what did we call on the ice? Let's just stick with that. That to me is there shouldn't be a fucking penalty on that play.
According to
any coach in the NHL is going to challenge that.
According to what the NHL said, though, they didn't. It wouldn't have mattered. I mean, because
that's what they say.
Their explanation is he skated in the crease, made contact. So
they're not going to say what I said, that they're going to upheld because whatever the call was on the ice. They'll never say that.
If the referees, I'm based on what they said on this goal. If the referees said it was a good goal and Vancouver challenged, based on what they said for upholding the decision the first time, I think they would overturn because they said he went into the crease and made contact with the goalie. And I've seen this a lot where you hear the announcers and you're looking at it, and you're like, yeah, the defenseman pushed him into the goalie, but it doesn't seem like the Toronto and the War Room care that happens. Yep. It happens a lot, which
it does.
And maybe that's their interpretation. They don't put a lot of weight on that, but I think that rule needs to change. Because that's not the fault of Holloway at all.
No, I agree. And I'll say, like, and we're going to talk about this later, so we don't need to get into depth here, but like that is a play for me. And I know Jim Montgomery did admit that he actually regrets making that challenge. I don't make that challenge there, not because I don't think it'll be overturned, but because the penalty kill is so fucking terrible right now. You don't take the chance of putting your team on the penalty kill. Like, to me, I'm just like, well, I'd love to challenge that, but if I'm wrong, we're going down 2-0, almost guaranteed.
What I do? I challenge it, and then if it's not overturned, I bitch and I get fined in the press conference afterwards. I complain, and I make it loud and obnoxious, so it gets on Spit and Chicklets, so it gets attention on TNT. And so and some attention is brought to it. Not that it would change anything, but
makes you feel better.
It would make me feel better, and it would draw attention. And maybe based on your little the fit you throw, maybe it's addressed in the off season or something.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I would because I think I understand why he said he regretted challenging it, but he was in the right. I mean, because Holloway didn't interfere. He was pushed into the goalie. So
I agree.
I think he was in the right. So and that was a big goal because it would have been 1-1. And then it was waved off 1-0 still. And then Vancouver goes on the power play and they score on the power play. So it's 2-0. Should have been 1-1. Now all of a sudden it's 2-0. And then later on, I thought it was a bad call on Suter.
And of course, the first two goals were scored by another motherfucker that we all hate, Connor Garland.
Yes. Yeah, who's left completely unattended on that second goal.
That second goal is, again, hockey 101 for any of you kids who are starting to play hockey. Binnington, yes, he had it. Everyone thought he had it, and the only one that saw it was Connor Garland, and he went after it and poked it in. That is hockey 101. Defenseman, I don't care if you think the puck is completely covered. Until you hear that damn whistle, you are tying up sticks. And I feel like the Blues just Binnington's got it. We're good. And there was no urgency to make sure Connor Garland did not get an extra poke in.
Right. And right now, with the way the Blues goaltending is a little leaky, you have to have that extra effort till the whistle.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't like the look on Binnington there where it hit him and, snuck through behind him. And he's
that happened twice in this game.
He's in a statue pose.
Yep.
Right.
That happened twice in this game. The other time, was it Fowler or Parayko cleared the Suter? I think Suter cleared it back out when it got by him again earlier.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, when a goalie does that and then they still kind of react and, like, jump back and, like, either knock it out with the back of their hand or something, I'm like, okay, that was leaky, but hey, at least they knew that they didn't have the puck covered. That was a situation on that goal, and the one that Kurt just mentioned. Binnington had no idea. He thought he had it, and it was just, no, dude, like, you got to know where that puck's at in your body.
Yeah, and I think that's a sign that he's fighting things right now, right? And I think going back to do you make the challenge with going back to the Stars game, the Blues had so terrible puck luck through that entire game. Like, there was zero puck luck. Jordan Kyrou broke 2 sticks on prime scoring opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Pucks were bouncing in, how many missed shots did they have? Just whiffing on things. The team is going in the wrong direction. So I think that's an opportunity to say, do we want to, bet everything on a 1-0 lead or a 1-0 game that could possibly go the wrong way and now it's 2-0? I think I would agree at the end of the day that, with his assessment that he made the wrong call. But you don't have forever to think about that. But I think in that moment, taking into consideration how things have gone for the team over the last 2 or 3 games, you don't make the call.
He's also getting input from his video people too.
Right.
So, and plus they're looking out on the bench. So, I mean, it is what it is. I get it. I didn't have a problem with the challenge because I like to err on the side of justice and righteousness.
You sound like Batman.
Right.
I'm Batman.
This is a comic book themed show.
So and I thought there was a bad call on Suter, which led to another power play goal for Vancouver. I think it was Suter for Vancouver. Frustrating game. I thought this game was the marker for me personally. This was a must-win game. Based on how the games before had gone and the games ahead. You can't lose this game, and they did. And so I think I'm on the this is officially not a playoff team for me now. I didn't even I was so frustrated I didn't even look at the standings.
Yeah. No, it definitely has that feel. I would say, though, on that power play goal, JT Miller's power play goal, it's a fucking breakaway on a power play.
Yeah,
because Tyler Tucker had a terrible change.
Yeah, what are you doing changing there?
Yep.
God, that was
awful. Well, and both forwards go too, which I mean I get. Like, the puck got a little deep, so forwards can go. Defenseman's got to stay. You can't leave one defenseman back all alone. And yeah, obviously JT Miller, quick guy, gets the pass all alone. I mean, could Binnington make that save? Yeah, he's been great on breakaways, but power play, you're down 2-0. You can't let that happen.
Blues are now 4-7 in their last 11 games. So in a brutal last 3 games,
still
2 against good teams, 1 against
3 wins together this season.
No. They've had 8 tries, and they have not. They are now 6 points out of a wild card spot behind Vancouver. They're 5 behind Calgary. Calgary, they would if they beat Vancouver, like we all expected and hoped they would. They'd be 3 points behind Calgary right now.
And Vancouver is winning or has won in Nashville tonight.
Yeah, and
now they've won 3 in a row all of a sudden.
Yeah, Vancouver's winning, and Calgary has been sliding a little bit too. So I'll say I'm not as fully on the Blues are out of the playoff race feel that you guys are in right now. I do think after the 4 Nations face-off, this team could be well rested. They've only got 2 guys going. They could come out and make a push, and I still think they control their own destiny as long as they win the games they have to win. Now, obviously, Vancouver, they had to win that game, but that was one opportunity out of 8 or 9 coming up. So I do think there is still a glimmer of hope. I just don't think it's worth getting our hopes up, because even if they make the playoffs, which would be great, I don't see them doing much. But it would be nice to see. After this little retool.
I don't even care. Yeah, a common theme amongst a lot of people is why are you rooting for them to make the playoffs? They're not going to do anything anyway. And I'm like, that is such a defeatist, negative attitude. I hate that attitude. I mean, do you even understand? Do you not know what playoff hockey means to people, and how different it is than the regular season, and how, if you do pull off an upset, how glorious and memorable that would be? It may be fantastic. So, I mean, it's just, it always, and we've talked about this, always root to get in. And then whatever happens.
Right. This isn't a lottery bad team, right?
No.
And you wouldn't want this team to be eliminated early, given, the retool, the moves that we made, the excitement that we've had. You want them to be competitive, but yeah, I mean, to root against them making the playoffs, just, I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. You want them to get in. Like, I remember you and I went to a Blues Wild playoff game, and it was like, just because it was the first playoff game, like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And it was like, didn't think the Blues were going to win, and they had a pretty bad game because Jake Allen. But
yeah, I remember that was bad. Allen had a bad game. We're fucking bitching at Allen in the crowd. That was good times.
Great.
But the excitement of being there.
Yeah, I get it.
Comments here. First of all, Preston Stanley, who I think is admitting even here that he is a new live listener. He says, "Hey guys, I listen every week on podcast, but wanted to jump on the live today just to say the Let's Go Blues Minute podcast is amazing and so helpful. Thanks for doing it." Thank you, Preston.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for handling it.
Yeah, no problem, Preston.
No, somebody on social media said something similar to me, that it's like helping them kind of learn the Blues prospects better too. And that's the kind of feedback I want, and it's what's keeping me doing it. So thank you for listening, Preston. Keep tuning in. But especially tune into this show, because we're all great. And then, yes, this was the next thing I wanted to comment on. Yeah. The Baked Beaver says, and I think I said this last week, I think to your comment on lack of 3-game streaks can go along with the speculation of goalie rotations. Yes. When your goalie's hot, you fucking play them. You don't just take them out for a game. And that's what the Blues have done all year. So stop doing it.
Yeah. And so Hofer would be the guy. If the rotation is a true thing, Hofer would be the guy to play Friday night. And it kind of makes sense, right? As much as you want Binnington playing against Colorado, and the fact that he got pulled in this last game, you saw Jim Montgomery go over to him and say, this wasn't on you.
Right.
But, I think at some point you have got to get away from this and give a goalie an opportunity to get hot and stay hot.
Yep. Well, speaking of hot goalies, Bill Day. I'm just kidding. No, speaking of hot goalies, we've got our save of the week this week, and it is the Blues against Vancouver.
Out of the vault.
We actually have a save from the Blues and Vancouver. Bill, it's not exactly what people are expecting.
No, it's not. It's not any of the 3 goalies that we saw in the game Monday night. It's not Kevin Lankinen, who had some amazing saves in that game. It's not Jordan Binnington, who didn't. It's not Joel Hofer, who kind of had some good saves. But no, we are going back to the vault, going all the way back to what I believe is November 16th, 1993, Blues versus Vancouver. Here we go, folks.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby. Curtis Joseph on Pavel Bure.
With
Look
Garth
at this
Butcher
thing.
watching.
Yes, right. I was going to make that point when we were talking about Joseph earlier, right?
Oh.
Because, right, Joseph's defense consisted a lot of Garth Butcher and Murray Barron, so it's not surprising that he faced 45 shots a game. But look at this save, full splits, full on splits. It's just like in 1991, a lot of NHL goalies couldn't do that. In today or 1993, today's era, every goalie can do this.
Look at how he reads
Right.
that. He's moving the pad before Burr even makes the shot. That's amazing.
Right. And so I want to compare this. We don't have the clip, but the more famous Pavel Bure breakaway is the penalty shot against
Vernon.
well, he scored on Vernon, but the save was Richter. Richter made the penalty shot save in the 94 finals.
Right.
And that one was a good save, but Vernon didn't get into the full splits like this. I mean, this is just an absolute thing of beauty. And I think this was one of those saves where we're like, okay, we finally have our goalie, right? How excited were we to see this guy playing? And just let me comment real quick as we
Keenan didn't
get away from it. Right. Fuck Mike Keenan. But man, those pads, those heat and helites, man, those were things of beauty. I love the equipment in that era.
Yeah.
I love today's equipment too. Don't get me wrong. It's much better, much lighter, much, doesn't soak up and become a 20-pound, bag of cement. But God, I love that. And yeah, just absolutely had to bring that to you guys with Curtis Joseph going into the Hall of Fame.
Yep. Very timely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, better days.
Might have to include this segment over the summer too, a couple times. Cause I think that would be a lot of fun for people to still see old saves, have you break those ones down. Cause Joseph, Fior back in their days, holy cow. Some of the extensions those guys made were insane.
Come up with a tournament, like the bracket for greatest
Well, we all know what's going to win. We all know what's going to win, right?
Bennington.
The greatest saves?
Yeah, on Nordstrom.
Yeah, I mean,
Game 7.
I mean, the moment doesn't get much bigger than that, right? I mean,
yeah. Although Bennington on Jamie Benn, Game 7.
That was. I want to say that was it was a bigger moment, I guess, because if it goes over the line, we lose and we're out of the playoffs. But that one wasn't as pretty. You know what I mean? No. That was I felt like we were lucky on that one because there was a lot of net to hit, and so. But
yeah,
lots of roster stuff to talk about here, boys. Yes. Let's get into it.
The Blues acquired a conditional 5th-round pick from the Islanders for Scott Perunovich. So Perunovich's time in St. Louis is done for now, anyway. Terms of the pick have not yet been disclosed, so I guess it depends if the Islanders make the playoffs or maybe what they do. Or
I'm sure there's something in there, but it has not been released yet, which is weird because usually somebody will dig it out. But I guess this just wasn't a big enough trade for the gurus to really look into it.
And nobody wants to piss off Lou Lamoriello or Doug Armstrong.
So he appeared in 24 games this season. 6 points, 2 goals, 4 assists, and 6 penalty minutes. Pretty much addressed 97 NHL games total, 29 points, 2 goals, and 27 assists, and 26 penalty minutes. He did play last night for the Islanders and got an assist and a +2 rating in 18:52 of ice time in the Islanders. 5-2 defeating of the Avalanche. A lot of people have drawn comparisons with Perunovich leaving to Wallman and Dunn leaving, and how they had success after they left. So, and they're like, "You watch, he's going to have success somewhere else." And I'm like, for his sake, I hope he does, but I don't think he's the type of player those two were. But I can see him in the right situation playing well.
Totally different situations for me too. Not to completely kiss the ass of Doug Armstrong, but for me, I look at Wallman, that trade was for necessity. It was, we need to get a veteran guy for this cup run who's available. Nick Leddy, okay. They want Wallman, fine.
I
Not
didn't
saying
like it at the
in
time.
hindsight it's the greatest trade.
I didn't like it at the time. I hated it at the time.
But I understood why they did it.
I didn't.
And then Dunn, he was done with Berube. Like,
and it was
Berube
also
was not a done guy.
It's expansion.
Berube wins you a cup.
Right.
You're not going to hold on to the player as opposed to the coach. So they exposed him in the draft, and he goes on, has a pretty nice career so far in Seattle. But for me, totally different situations. I feel like Perunovich deserved a little bit more of a chance here. Wallman and Dunn, to me, I think Dunn had his chance. He just did not impress here. Had to get a change of scenery to really pick up his game. Wallman, say what you will. I like Wallman. He is playing. Detroit wasn't a fan of him. They moved on from him. He's now with the worst team in the NHL. So to me, different situations. But yes, I do think Perunovich, I'm not saying he's going to go on and be a 100-point defenseman, but I do think he's a guy that can really be a solid bottom two defenseman that can pick up time on the power play.
Yeah, I would agree with the assessment that he didn't get enough opportunity here. He wasn't a Berube guy. He wasn't a Drew Bannister guy, and he clearly wasn't a Jim Montgomery guy. So time to move on. And watching the Army's presser, I have more respect for Army when he has these things and he talks about it really at the human level. Like, we're giving this guy an opportunity to take his game and play, right? He's going to keep sitting here. So we're going to give him this opportunity. The Islanders are decimated on defense right now. Last week they had to go out and sign fucking Tony DeAngelo. And so now they've brought in two guys with NHL skill, and hopefully, that last night's game isn't just a flash in the pan for him, and he can produce and become a key member of that Islanders team, or at least get more exposure on the East Coast and get picked up, after his contract's out.
What did I say in training camp? That this was a prove it year for Perunovich because this was his last year of his contract. He had to play and prove himself. So because he's going to want a new contract after the season's over, he's an RFA. So, and he wasn't playing. So if he can't crack the lineup, the Blues, obviously he's fallen on the depth chart, as soon as Tucker became an everyday player now and they acquired Fowler, he's just not getting any ice time. So, and they weren't interested in him they weren't going to keep him down in Springfield. They couldn't do that. So it's like they had to move him
to waivers.
No. And they would have lost him for nothing. And they got something. A 5th-round pick is almost next to nothing, but it's something. But
Tyler Tucker was a 7th-round pick, and now he's an everyday defenseman. So you never know.
Yeah. I know.
Jordan Binnington was a 3rd-round pick?
Right. But typically, the 5th-round pick is not.
Right. Pavel Datsyuk was a 9th-round pick or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
And Zetterberg was like 8th or something, right? So
and Curtis Joseph was undrafted.
Right. Yes.
No.
But,
I think the biggest thing for me was like the writing was on the wall when they made the move and sent out P.O. Joseph. And then because when I first heard, okay, that's the move. Okay, this is Perunovich's opportunity.
Right.
But within 2 hours, Tyler Tucker's been recalled. Right.
He was playing well in Springfield. So rightfully
and
so, right? Yeah.
He has, I really still fucking hate that line change the other night, but he's shooting the puck and he is contributing offensively, which, it's
he's
probably
not
going to
walked.
Right. It's probably not going to be that way for a long time. So, I'm glad he's doing well right now, but that was definitely the sign that Perunovich's time here was at an end.
Right.
Yeah, I really thought with the P.O. Joseph trade, I thought maybe they'll call up like a Leo Loof again, just to like let him watch from the press box and be a part of practice. But yeah, when I saw it was Tyler Tucker, I'm like, oh, he's going to play. Like they're going to play him over Perunovich. He doesn't need time in the press box.
Or what's his name? drawing a blank on the
Oh, Corey Schooneman.
Schooneman, yeah, Schooneman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
he was
he played
great.
He played well in the 2 games he was up here earlier this
Played
season.
a couple. I think he played 4 or 5.
Was it that many?
Yeah.
So yeah. So
somewhere between 2 and 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I have to ask though. Next season, clearly the Blues need to make another defenseman for a draft pick trade. They did it last year with Robert Bertuzzo. Did it this year with Scott Perunovich. So who's it going to be next year?
Nick
They
Leddy.
trade Nick Leddy to the Islanders. Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, back to the Islanders. Yeah, I mean, he's done. His career's over, Leddy. I mean, I'm from what they said earlier, and it's interesting because, he was hurt so early in the season after 1 game, right? And then
4
games, and it was like, oh, okay, he'd be out his day to day or whatever, and then week to week, and now he's like, what the hell's going on?
They literally said,
haven't heard about Leddy at all.
When he got hurt, they literally said like, "Oh, he'll be back in like a week. He just needs some maintenance days." And then it's like, here it is, January. They have said that he's been practicing, and
Right.
I think
he was on the last road trip.
Yeah, and I think he went home early because he's having setbacks, but he is trying to come back.
Well, and I get it, but and he's got 1 more year on his contract too, so $4 million. So if he goes on LTIR and Saad is no longer with the team, that's a couple of decent contracts that are the Blues don't have to worry about.
Big money.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people, I think, are speculating the Blues might go after Pettersson, which would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are you going to give up Kyrou to do it? Right? Kyrou or Thomas? I think one of those guys has to go the other way.
I think you got to give up one of your elite prospects. I don't know. I think you can get it done with a Snuggerud or with a.
I'll tell you what. If the salary cap isn't an issue with what acquiring a fantastic known and giving up an unknown in the NHL. I mean, we got a few really good prospects, but they haven't played the NHL. So I've always been like, man, if you can trade a guy for a young, really good, proven NHL player, I mean, that's
plus
if it fits in your cap, right? So
Pettersson's a guy that is a Blues killer too, so it'd be nice to not have to face that 3 times a year.
But Armstrong said in his presser, right, we're not going to give up those young assets to try to make this current team better.
No, not this season.
Right? Yeah, I'm not saying for this season either. I'm saying it would have to be a trade and then sign. Like if you work out a deal with Vancouver, you'd have to say, "Hey, we love this trade. We want to make it, but you got to let us talk to his agent first and see if we can get a deal done right after we acquire him."
Yeah, and it's not going to be a rental by any means. That'd be stupid.
No,
there's no point. And a team, I mean, we're not a cup contender, so why would you do that?
Yep.
So I mean, if we're a cup contender, that's a different story, right? I mean, then that changes the whole outlook of, well, you trade a good prospect for a guy that you can maybe get a rental and win you a cup, which they say every year that doesn't really work out for teams when they acquire that big name at the deadline that they don't typically win a cup with that guy.
It worked for us. We got Michael Del Zotto.
Right. Good point. I stand corrected. And the Blues did place Brandon Saad on waivers Tuesday. He cleared. But the Blues placed him on unconditional waivers on Wednesday for the purpose of contract termination. So he is, I assume, and I don't think when Armstrong talked on the radio today that I assume this was done because Saad said he did want to go to Springfield. So
I believe it's not been officially said, but it sounds like that's what happened.
Yeah.
That basically once he cleared, he was like, "I'm not going to Springfield,"
Right.
And they both said, "Okay, let's terminate your contract."
And he's going to lose $5.425 million. Well,
oh my Lord.
Okay, he's not going to lose that. He's losing out on that from the Blues, but he's going to sign for a chunk of that somewhere. Maybe
not
half
a lot.
Half.
I'm thinking maybe $1 million.
No, well, I think he gets like 2.5, 3.
Oh,
2.5.
I don't know.
2.5. I bet you it's 2.5. Oh, you know what? That's okay. I'll back up. If it's a cup contender, maybe a 1-year contract, cup contender, just try and win a cup, maybe $1 million, something like that. Do a Patrick Kane, sign for $1 million. But
yeah, and I don't know. I do find it interesting because I feel like, dude, if you just went down to Springfield and finished out the year down there, you'd probably find a buyer in the offseason. I mean, yes, for the Blues, you'd have to probably lose a draft pick to get rid of his contract. But I just found that very odd by Saad. But I guess for him, it's like he still thinks he's got a lot left in the tank. And he probably is thinking like you, Kurt, like I could go sign a deal for half that and go play on a contender. I do think there's probably interest in him. I know you guys kind of disagreed with me earlier. I could see him maybe not this season, maybe even not next season. I could see him eventually ending his career in Chicago. Obviously, he has fond memories there. Plus, he gets to play with Bedard. So maybe he goes. Maybe the goal for him is go win a cup this year, sign a 2 or 3 year deal in Chicago, and call it a career.
I'm trying to think why Chicago would do that other than just nostalgia. I mean, Taze isn't playing there anymore. So
bodies. You need to fill out that roster. Good Lord.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I'm Saad, unless he just really enjoyed playing in Chicago. I mean, but if I'm Saad, that's like my last choice. I'm thinking, they're not going to be good for a while. So
yeah, but you got to think too. Again, maybe if he goes and wins a cup this year, it's
that would
okay. I want another cup, and you know what? I'll go play with Bedard. He sets me up, and maybe I get traded to another contender next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's my biggest question about this whole thing was it's a mutually agreed contract termination. This is not a buyout, right? We're not in a buyout window. So his cap hit is gone. Yep. We don't have to suffer it the rest of the year.
Big deal.
I think it's terrible, right? He just brought another kid into the world. So for the family, it's like, stress because, you lost a lot of salary here, but he's going to get picked up. Somebody is going to sign the guy. And it's probably going to be like you guys said, a situation where it's going to be some team that is pushing to make the playoffs or is a lock and just wants to add that depth.
Right? I could see Washington. Honestly, they're pretty veteran laden and they're having a damn good year. I could see them being like, "Hey, nice little utility pickup with Brandon Saad. He can play 1 through 4 in the lineup." And yeah, I could see Washington. Vancouver is a team that has been struggling a little bit as of late. They're going to be making a pretty big move in either Pettersson or Miller. Maybe you get as much depth as you possibly can. I do think there's a couple teams that are definitely got to be interested in him.
I don't think, Saad passing up the money. He's made over $60 million in his NHL career so far. So I think he's not, obviously if he's turning down $5 million to sign for whatever, somewhere else to make up some of that money to try and win a cup. Obviously, if he's trying to say, well, a cup is worth $3 or $4 million to me. Right. So that's, and when you've made $60 million over the course of your career and he's got a few years left, probably, he'll be okay. He'll be okay.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Saad. I wish him best, and I'm very happy with his time here at the end of the day.
Right. And, for a guy that, I admittedly forgot was on the roster in the offseason, I thought he had a pretty decent, impact on this team. I think he's a good veteran presence, but yeah, he looks like he's lost a step. The production isn't there, like Army said in his presser, right? He's got 7 goals, but he scored those in 4 games. Yeah, right? He was so sporadic, and he's not. The other thing that I think we need to talk about, and I didn't think we had this in the outline here, but the Armstrong's comments that the reason was basically to force. If you listen to it and read between the lines, it's to force Montgomery to play Texier.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I got that sense too.
He said, if the coach doesn't have the options, he's got to play him, right? So I took
I don't
away all of
get
his
that.
options. He's got to fucking play. Why? You're the general manager. Can't you go there and say, Jim Montgomery, play Texier, right? Give him an opportunity.
Have you seen Moneyball?
Yeah, but I don't think you want.
Have you seen Moneyball?
Want that. I don't think you want that. I don't think you want your GM doing that. And I think
No.
And if that's the case, I don't really like it either, because it's like, dude, you hired the coach for a reason. Let him make his lineup changes. But having said that, I agree with you, and I think it's weird. I think Texier, every time he's in the lineup, I notice him.
I like Texier.
I think over Saad especially. Like, why is Texier not getting the minutes?
He's got more jump. He's more dynamic.
Right.
He's stirring things up. You know, he's a
better power play option than
he's like Nathan Walker with more skill,
or Sundqvist.
He's like Walker with more skill. Not the toughness, but he's nonstop out there. He hustles.
I will say that I did enjoy a tweet that I saw earlier today. Well, actually, it might have been on Blue Sky. I can't remember. They said, "Man, what a month for Brandon Saad. He starts the year off with a hat trick, and he ends the month with with being bought out or with terminating his contract." Like, yeah, Bill, you said it. Just kept scoreless in 40 of 43 games. Holy shit. That is
goalless.
Talk about inconsistency.
Pointless or goalless?
Goalless.
Okay, goalless. Yeah. Jeez.
But yeah, I total of 16 points on the season with 7 goals. 7 goals, and he's only scored in 3 games. That's mind-boggling.
You stick him in on a playoff team in a playoff round and say, okay, pick out 3 games in this series and score 7 goals.
Yeah, right.
Right. And he's got the resume to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, you stick him on a third line or a second line with on a good team. He might just kind of reap the benefits of that. So we'll see.
No, I'm a fan of his. I loved the signing at the time. I still love the signing. I think overall his body of work was great. Just, I don't know, maybe he just didn't work in a Montgomery system.
I think with the unconditional release, right? I think this was his tenure here was very good overall. I thought because he didn't really have the last couple. This year was bad, but we don't have to suffer through next year if it's going to be worse. The last couple years of a contract are going to be bad on some of these deals, but now we're out of this, so that I'm very happy with Saad's time here.
Mm-hmm.
The Blues did place Marcus. How do you pronounce this? Silvergard on unconditional waivers with the intention of buying out his contract. The Blues signed him as an undrafted free agent from Sweden's Vaho Lakers last season.
I will say I copied this from something. I don't think it was intention of buyout. I think it's the same thing as Saad. I think it's just a mutual agreement to terminate the contract.
Okay. He was 5th on the team and with 21 points, 10 goals, 11 assists in 35 games, but never received an NHL recall. 21 points in 35 games. He was good. Yeah, it's probably a thing where he's frustrated not getting called up and he wants to go back home and play in Sweden. So, and they're probably
and if you remember the conversations when he came over, it was because he was between St. Louis, like the Rangers, and some other playoff bound team, and he literally picked St. Louis because he was like, that's my best course to get to the NHL.
Okay,
but then the Blues went out and got Joseph and Texier. Well, actually, they already had Texier at that point, but like they went out and got a couple different guys, and then it started falling deeper down the call up list, and never got. I really thought at this point we would have seen him called up at some point because he does have a wicked release, and that's what the Blues need right now. So I expected to see him up at some point, and I'm not shocked at all that he's like, hey. You're not going to fucking call me up. I'm going back to Sweden.
Sure. And the Blues got bag skated by the coaching staff. So
totally deserved.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
So there were plenty of one-on-one battle drills, hard, heavy competing guys grinding, 2-on-2 drills. there was a set of skaters with the puck being chased from behind by another set. Practice ended with bag skates, and Montgomery was quoted as saying, it's a long quote, this practice was kind of designed probably at least a week ago. Just with the 3 days between games, we figured after the game last night, coming back with a real hard, intense battle practice. If there's an area of our team, and the stats that we keep that we need to improve, what the fuck? If there's an area of our team and the stats that we keep that we need to improve, that's what it says. It's our battle.
That's a quote from our friend Lou Korak.
It's our battle percentage. And that's not only one-on-one battles, but we count second quick battles, which is you and I are in a battle, and who's the next teammate that's going to come out to come get the loose puck. It's usually a 50-50 battle, and second teammate coming in makes it 75-95%. It's there's a lot of okay. A lot
of X's and O's.
He worked them hard.
Yeah. Did you guys see any of the
read? That's a hard read.
So I read it on the Let's Go Blues Minute today, and I think I had to record it like 7 different times.
Like, no, thank you. Nah, they worked. He kicked their ass in practice, and
that's what you need to know.
It probably.
Did you guys watch any of the video of the practice?
No,
I didn't see
so I think it was either Korak or it might have been Rutherford posted video, and dude, it looked brutal. As someone who's played, the highest level I ever played was high school. But we used to get bag skated. We'd get our asses kicked and have practices like this. And I remember literally guys like puking on the rink because they were so overworked. And, you probably won't see that in high school hockey anymore nowadays. But yes, I've been bag skated. And, dude, your whole body. I mean, Bill, you probably the same for you, right? Like, I'm sure you've been bag skated. And it's just like, you are sore for days. Like your next game, you're still sore. So I'm sure they felt it, and they probably rested up real good today.
When I played in college, it was a club team, so we didn't have, it wasn't like a sanctioned thing. And who ran the team? The players. We didn't bag skate ourselves. We didn't punish ourselves for losing. No, we just scrimmaged all the time.
No, I'm sure I've told this story on the pod before, but CBC 1993, we lost one game in the regular season. We went down to South County Rec and lost to Fox, and the next day we had a practice scheduled at that same facility, and we got back skated. And that was the worst thing. You start to come out, and Fox outplayed us that night, and they got some really good bounces. But we start coming out, and you hear coach yell, "No pucks!" And you're like, "Oh shit!"
Yep,
here it comes.
That was us too. It was like we would go out for practice, and we would always grab the bag as we were walking out of the locker room for practice. And I remember. One time especially, like I grabbed the bag, I put it on my shoulder, and he goes, "Ponder, no pucks today." And then there was just this collective, like we all knew what was coming. So I'm sure it was similar for the Blues. Like, oh fuck, we got a huge break between games here. We're gonna get our asses kicked today.
Just play club sports.
It's definitely a way to go. I know I will never suffer a bag skate as backup goalie for the St. Louis Force.
That's true. We will never bag skate you, Bill.
Okay,
so we've got some areas of concern here. I think maybe we all just we all have our own thoughts here. So I think maybe we just hit them all one by one. I'll start. I know you guys agree with this. Penalty kill. Jesus fucking Christ. The penalty kill lately. And so, I got a little ramble here. They've been especially awful as of late. The game against Vancouver, they allowed 2 goals on 2 opportunities, including that delay game penalty after the Blues challenged the no goal call. And I said this earlier, it makes you, as a coach, say, I can't challenge this because we'll give up another goal if I'm wrong. This month, the Blues' PK has allowed 8 goals on 22 attempts, posting a 63.6 clip, which is second worst in the NHL, only to the San Jose Sharks, of course. They've given up at least 1 power play goal every game since January 18th, in which they've lost 4 of 5 games in that time. In that span, their PK is an otherworldly 50%. allowing 6 goals on 12 opportunities.
You know what I took from that?
To me, what's that?
You know what I took from that? That we have bragging rights over Teal Town.
Yeah. No, so clearly, yes, there's other problems with this team right now. But to me, these last 3 games that they've lost, if you have a better penalty kill, I think you win at least one of those games. The penalty kill has let them down, especially against Vancouver. And it's been bad all season, but it's been incredibly, like, write a book about how bad this penalty kill is this last month.
Yeah, Rivers pointed it out a few games ago. Like, the strategy became to cut the ice in half, and that's fine if everybody's bought into it. And I think that, you know, we've gotten back into this poor coverage around the perimeter of the net. Right, Connor Garland, wide open, able to basically tiptoe behind Jordan Binnington, pull the puck from between his pads and tap the puck into the net. Not a fucking stick laid on him, right? Nope. That you don't see enough battle on the PK around the net, right? And teams have figured that out and figured out how to exploit us, and they've got to make an adjustment, right? That this is the one area that this team historically has thrived on, and the last couple of years have been terrible. They have got to get it figured out.
Are we just going down the list and just talking about
whatever you want to say? Bring up whatever you want.
So my areas of concern, goaltending. I think compared to last season, especially last season was very good goaltending overall, but this season, letdown. Have they been terrible? No. They've just been not good enough to win tight games. You know,
yeah, they haven't been difference makers.
They haven't been making the fantastic saves. They haven't been, it's been a situation where, okay, wow, there was a breakdown and the goalies aren't bailing the team out. And I hate to put all that responsibility on the goaltenders, but you need that from them a certain percentage of the time. And we're not getting it enough out of them. They don't, the team's not going to be perfect in front of you. This team is not going to be perfect in front of you. If we want to make the playoffs, the goaltending has to be better. And the goaltending has to be one of the best parts of this team. And it has easily been not the best.
If you get the goaltending from last season on this team, I think this team's clearly in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right
I do too. Yeah, because goaltending covers up mistakes, and that's with every team. It's not like every team makes mistakes, but the good teams typically have the good goaltending that make up for the little mistakes in front of them.
Right, and I think probably don't have the exact stat here, but the one thing where I think this has been most noticeable is in how many goals the Blues have given up after scoring. Right.
Yeah.
That is where I think there's got to be an advanced stat about that being a higher impact save. When you were defending, the momentum, I guess we could call it, can't say in every situation we're defending a lead, but we're defending momentum and we just give it up with the first shot, the first sequence after we score comes back the other way and is in our net. Right. It for a few weeks, it felt like that was a given that was going to happen. And, that's not just the goaltenders. Defense hasn't been helping out, but the goalies have to, at some point, become difference makers on this team.
Yeah. And I think you tie in Kurt's area of concern with my first one as well. We mentioned the Connor Garland second goal on the power play. What do we always say? What does every hockey fan always say?
Best penalty killer has to be your
goaltender, right?
Yeah.
And that has just not been the case this year.
Well, because you're outmanned. You're outmanned on the ice, so your goalie has to step up.
Yep, and we're not seeing that right now. Bill, you have what you want to comment on?
So my biggest area of concern is the power play personnel. I think that the constant selection of third and fourth line centers as your net front presence guys is backfiring. We talked about this before the show. At some point, when do you think it's going to be better for this team to go 2 defensemen, 3 forwards, and not try to constantly force this idea, especially when you got players like Buchnevich and Thomas that are completely struggling, right? So you're going to put a fourth forward out there and create more turnover opportunities at the blue line. The power play personnel has got to be rationalized on this team, and I think that at some point, I think you've got your shooter in Dylan Holloway. That goal he scored against Vancouver, thing of beauty, right? gets open, gets to one-timer, and hammers it home. Why can't you have him as your shooter on power play 1 and Bolduc on power play 2? Those are your 2 best left-handed shots. Kyrou is your shooter on the other side. Put 2 defensemen out there, and we have decent personnel. Falk, Broberg, Parayko, Fowler, right? You don't have to have a forward trying to quarterback it from the power play or from the point when you've got a Cam Fowler who can do that. And
sorry, I'll just add that for me, it's like what I was always told by my dad growing up when I'd make a mistake and I'd go do something I shouldn't do. He would always tell me, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that fits in with your idea here. We were talking a little bit before the show about this. Just because you can put 4 forwards out there, you don't have to. Because you're putting out 4 forwards, you're playing a Radek Faksa, which, yes, that happened last game. You're playing a Oscar Sundqvist most of the season on your power play. No. Right. Put your 3 forwards out there, and the thing that you pride yourself on is puck-moving defensemen, right? So put 2 defensemen out there. Put Parayko and Fowler on the first pairing, and then put Falk and Broberg on the second pairing. I don't get what's so hard about that.
So talking about the power play and kind of segue into offense for me. So the Blues, like, goals per period. I was looking at the goals per period, and the Blues are 12th in the NHL, the entire NHL, in goals by period in the first period. They have, it's not bad. They're that's fine. That's decent. But goals for in the second period, they are 22nd, and then goals for in the third period, they are second to last, 31st. So as the game goes on, compared to other teams in the league, they're scoring less. So and that kind of comes back, and that you could see that was a couple of games ago when the Blues had 3 power plays in the third period, and they got nothing to try and get back in the game. They're down by 2. They had 3 power plays, came up empty. So it's those second and third period goals, that are going to win you games, right? You need middle period scoring, and you need to break a tie in the third or tie it up in the third. And they're falling behind as the game goes on, apparently, according to these numbers.
Yep.
So,
and that kind of ties into, I mean, obviously they're getting worse as the game goes on, but lately it's been a problem of going down 2-0 early in the first period. So, like, you're constantly playing the game from behind. And like you said, if you're getting worse as the game goes on and you're already down 2-0, you have no hope of winning.
And their goals against, this is funny, their goals against in the first period, they are 10th in the NHL. And the goals against in the second, they are 20th. And they actually get better in the third, though, 15th, which you could interpret this way. They're trailing going into the third period. The other team kind of sits back on it and plays D, doesn't press too much. And so they're not giving up a lot in the third period.
Yep.
So that may explain that. But from first period to second period, they do drop quite a bit, from 10th to 20th. So
and again, I think we all can agree, like, if the team doesn't make the playoffs, we're not going to be upset, crying over it. We expect this team to still be in a bit of a retool, but there are holes and issues that we're noticing as trends that need to be nipped in the bud when this team's ready to compete. And like you guys said, maybe this season they're not a competing team, but when you're seeing all these issues come to fruition, it's a little troubling to see, this late in the season. Like this, they should be playing their best hockey right now, and they're not.
Well, and I think going into the season, like I said earlier, that this was a team that we hoped would make the playoffs. I think we're picking them to make the playoffs. Not finishing top 3. I think we kind of thought they were a wild card team.
I think we all said that.
Yeah. But so, and they're not right now. They could get hot and they could make it close, right? So they could finish there still, but they got some work to do. But, so I guess you got to put things in perspective at how we thought this team was going to be and where they are now. Yeah, it's a little disappointing. It's not like they were supposed to be cup contenders and they're out of the playoffs right now. It's, they're probably off by 8 points when we thought they might be 8-9 points. So overtime goal, I'm behind.
Overtime goal. Sidney Crosby has defeated the Utah trademark infringements in overtime, 3-2.
Yeah.
Utah gets a point, but not the second.
I'm way behind. I haven't seen the goal yet. Maybe here it is. Yep, there it is. I was about a minute behind. But yeah, so and I think being upset where the Blues are right now is not the right word. Disappointed is a better word. Not angry, not mad. I don't get angry or mad anymore about stuff as much, and it's because of the cup.
I don't either.
I will say that the cup did help quite a bit as far as I don't have that mindset anymore of man, another year with no chance at a cup. It's depressing. Yeah, that's not there anymore.
For me, it's the expectations.
Right.
I was still getting pretty pissed 2 years ago when the team really started to fall apart because I'm like, there's no reason for this team to be tanking this hard. But yeah, like
going O'Reilly.
Yeah, like it was like, come on. Like I get that you're not the quickest team out there, but what is happening? And a lot of that was defensive woes. But beside that point, for me, it's expectations. Last year, I expected this team to compete late for a playoff spot, and they did, and I was happy. I was like, hey, that's what I want from these guys, and that's what I want now. I still feel the same way, that as long as you're competing late in the season, that's what I want to see. But right now, it's a little disastrous. There's too many issues, and it's like I'm not getting angry, but I'm getting a little frustrated watching this team.
Yeah,
right. I feel like we have that, because of the cup win, we can take that position of, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed, right? the kind of the worst feeling a teenager can get from their parent, right?
I heard
just
that one
frustrating. Yeah.
Right.
From my dad, it was, if you can, just because you can doesn't mean you should. From mom, it was, I'm not angry with you, I'm disappointed.
Yeah. I think every kid's heard that, and I'm like, that's never good. That makes you just sit there and like, oh man.
Have you had to throw that out on your kids yet, Kurt?
No.
I tell my dogs that all the time.
Yeah. No, my kids are, and I think a lot of parents will say this, but I don't have any complaints about my kid. They're pretty much well behaved, good kids. They don't get into trouble. I haven't had to break that out yet, so hopefully I don't have to.
Good. Hopefully you never have to.
Yeah. So next up for the Blues, we got, unless you want to talk about more about some
I'm good. I think we covered plenty.
Yeah, I do too. Next up for the Blues, Friday, January 31st at Colorado. And then Sunday, February 2nd at Utah. Tuesday, February 4th at home against Edmonton. And then Thursday, February 6th, home against Florida. So it couldn't beat Utah last time. We've had trouble with Arizona, Utah in the past. So Utah, as far as I'm concerned, is a really good team mixed in with these other three really good teams. So this is the middle of the gauntlet that we talked about.
Hey, you look at gauntlet. Utah's 1 point behind the Blues right now. So they are right in the mix there for the playoffs too.
So I think we can look at this in a 4-game chunk here. Is like what? So I'm down on this team being a playoff team right now.
Mhm.
So what would the Blues have to do here for me to change my mind? Beating Colorado is always sweet. I mean, that would lift my spirits quite a bit actually if they beat Colorado. And then you got to beat Utah because you can't just keep losing to that fucking team.
Yeah.
So if you beat Colorado and Utah, and then depending on what happens ahead of you in the standings, then maybe you gain a couple points. And then maybe you're like, well, if they can do well against them, I mean, if they can win 3 or 4 here, get the 7 out of 8 points, maybe get lucky. And I don't know. But I say that, but they've lost 4 in a row or whatever it is, 3 in a row. So
I think you have to win 2 games here in the next 4 games chunk. And I think one of them has to be Utah. You have to beat Utah.
I think you got to do more than that. I think you got to 3 out of 4 to make progress, to move up. Right.
Right. I think that, best case scenario is you get 7 out of 8, but you have to at least get 5 out of 8 points.
I'll buy that. Yeah.
I'd be happy with that.
Better than 500. 5 out of 8 points would be, yeah, I'd be like, okay. And it's kind of treading water, but it's like, okay, again, depending on what happens ahead of you.
It's not treading water if you're on a 3-game losing streak.
That's true.
Right.
That's a good.
That's
well,
true.
you're just making up.
Right.
If they were to win 3 in a row here, Colorado, Utah, Edmonton, hey, great. They're back where they were 6 games ago, right? Where they. So that's the problem with losing 3 games in a row. You got to win 3 in a row just to get back where you were 6 games ago.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll tell you that the Colorado game does worry me. Just when I initially heard Rantanen was getting traded, I'm like, oh, a Blues killer gone. But who did they bring back? Marty Necas, and he destroyed us.
Yeah.
The last 2 times we played Carolina. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the last 2 times we played Carolina in Carolina, we handled them here in St.
Well, he's
Louis,
having a damn good season this year too. So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like I don't know how the Avalanche feel about the Blues, but I want to beat them so bad. It's like
I know they hate Binnington.
Yeah, I want to beat them so bad, and yeah, a win against them would not just like a win, like 3-1, something fairly convincing, 4-1. That'd be nice.
Speaking of the Avalanche and overrated players, let's say, did you see who was put on waivers?
No.
Philip Grubauer.
Really?
Seattle has put him on waivers.
Hate to see that.
Memories of waivers, baby.
Somebody should put that on Instagram. Little
I think
waiver image.
I would, but he has blocked me, so I don't know if it'll. Maybe I'll do it from Let's Go Blues Radio.
Wasn't that a thing? An Instagram image that he put on?
He said memories from round 1, and it was of Binnington trying to fight someone after they lost.
He said memories of your time in the NHL.
So then I did memories of round 2 when he got shit stomped by, I think, Vegas.
Yeah.
And then round 3, I literally pasted his photo on a picture of a guy watching the playoffs. And I said memories of round 3. So then that's when I got blocked.
So sensitive.
Yep.
All right. So
yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's there. People act like there's a lot of games left. There are a chunk of games left, but I mean, it's as far as like making a move before the deadline and everything, it's getting late. So. The Blues are probably going to be sellers, so we'll see what they get rid of. I mean, Saad's. Who would you think is gonna? We'll have time to talk about this for a different distant show, but I mean, Saad's. Saad was a guy I thought if he's still here, he's gone at the deadline.
Yeah.
Perunovich, he's gone too. So it's like now what? Now you're getting rid of Suter.
If you can, I think you might.
I think
because you want to give him a chance to maybe go win a cup.
I think you keep Fowler. He's got term left.
Yeah.
But I think he moves. Suter's got this. Is Suter's only year, right? Last year on his contract. I believe
he only signed 1 year.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you definitely move him. I think he's not in your future plans. That's a no-brainer. He's gone. So yeah, maybe a guy like Foxa.
Agent.
Foxa. somebody said online Buchnevich. I'm like, he's not getting traded.
No, not after he just signed that deal.
He hasn't even started his new deal yet. People love to say that.
Yeah.
Let's trade him. He hasn't even started his new contract yet. He's not going to get moved.
If you can move a Matthew Joseph, maybe you do it. He's got 1 year left on his deal after this year. Oscar Sundquist, Torpchenko, I think you hold on to. Nathan Walker, maybe if you can move him, you do. But yeah, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of teams I think looking for a Nathan Walker or a Matthew Joseph.
I think Nathan Walker he's $775K per year. I think he's a great plug-in guy. I like him.
Washington might want somebody with that. You know, he's started his career there. Might be an energy guy for them. I'll say I haven't watched any Washington's games this year, but yeah, I mean, so we've got after tonight, 10 days left until the break, the pause for the Four Nations.
Yep.
And I think that when we get to that point, we'll know if the Blues are going to start if there is something to sell, will they sell it?
Right. And they've got that much time left. So
yeah.
Yep.
That's
Big
why it's
Beaver says, are you all using Puckpedia? That site is heat. Yes, that is what I used.
I got it up right now.
You should definitely use it because they are our lone sponsor of the Let's Go Blues Minute. So
they're a friend of the show
check
too.
out Puckpedia. Yep.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, we've had Hart Levine on, and he's the runner of the site, plus Taylor Dixon of Puckdoku. They are also partnered with Puckpedia. A lot of P's there. It's hard to say them all. But
good thing you have a pop filter.
Yes, right.
So rapid fire tidbits. We got one thing. Utah says it's no longer pursuing Yeti as a potential permanent team name because of trademark issues. And I put it. You saw what the trademark issue was, right? They couldn't secure it. They couldn't. They wouldn't grant them a trademark to the Utah Yetis because of the cooler.
Right.
I think that's completely silly. Like I just don't know how if it's like a completely made up word, like Chaz nozzle. Okay, yeah. Trademark that word.
The Yeti is already a thing.
Trademark the word Yeti.
The Yeti is already it's a fictitious animal. Or so they say.
It's a fictitious being. You can't call him an animal.
A beast. But yeah, that is weird to me. It's like saying you can't trademark. Yeah, I can see you not being able to trademark Yeti by itself or Yetis by itself, but you can trademark Utah Yetis. You absolutely can. So maybe they're trying to trademark Yeti by itself.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's what it was.
That's ridiculous.
The
Blues don't have the Blues trademark by itself.
Right. Well,
can't do that.
The top three things that on the fan vote, I think all had potential trademark infringement issues. They applied for Yeti and were denied. Which sucks because I was, when Seattle got named, I was hoping they were going to be the Sasquatch, right?
Yep.
And I don't that wouldn't have gotten challenged, but because Yeti is such a successful cooler brand, right? They are a known commodity. But Jeff and I were talking about this before the show. You think that there could be some kind of deal made, like, hey, you can be our sponsor, right? You can be our flagship sponsor.
Yeah,
and
it's interesting because I've dealt with trademark issues before. And there has to be an issue where if they feel there's an infringement, there has to be an issue where the average person may be confused as far as what they're referring to, whether it be the cooler or the hockey team. I'm like, it's not like you're releasing a line of cups or stuff you drink out of or dinnerware. No, it's a hockey team versus a tumbler. They're not even the same thing.
The Baked Beaver Yeti wouldn't let them print Yeti on clothing. That's the biggest issue. Yeah, I saw that, and it's like, again,
Utah
why
Yeti,
does Yeti have a monopoly over the word Yeti?
Yeah, and Utah Yeti. So if they just want to put Yeti, or would it be the Utah Yeti or Yetis? Anyway,
I think they were going to go with Yeti.
So, but if they put Utah Yeti, that's a completely different thing. Now, it's weird that Yeti would have, like you said, Jeff. Yeah. It's weird that they would have complete control over the word of Yeti, which they didn't invent the word. That's not
Right.
That's a thing. It's a storybook thing.
Right. So this is from Yahoo Sports article. U.S. Patent and Trademark Office specifically cited a likelihood of confusion for consumers due to other companies and brands with a similar name, most notably the Yeti Cooler Company.
Yeah, that's
different companies can feature a similar name if they are in clearly different fields, e.g. the Beatles, Apple Corps, and Apple Computers, but it seems likely an NHL team with the same name would clash with certain products such as the Cooler Company's apparel line.
Why?
Yeah,
Because ice, cooler, right? It's all this. Yeah,
that is ridiculous.
If it was a baseball team, not a problem.
Well,
But
and
because
I
there's
also
ice involved.
That is
again, like I go
ridiculous.
to like if they wanted to name them the Utah Wampa after the character or the creature in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. Again, totally get that. Star Wars made up Wampa. It's not a real animal. Yeti, and not that Yeti's a real animal either, but Yeti is like you said, Kurt, it's a word that has existed for a long time.
Yeah.
Why does it fucking matter?
And even if it, they're different things. Yeah, there's not going to be. You show me somebody who is confused between a Yeti cooler and the Utah Yeti. I guess if you have a shirt that just says Yeti on it, can I not have a shirt that just says Cardinals? I can.
Do you have any shirts that just say Blues on it though?
Or Blues? I'm just saying that. So that's the thing, though, is that the Blues don't have trademark. They don't have rights over the word Blues. They have rights over St. Louis Blues, like the Yeti would have rights over Utah Yetis or Yeti.
Yeah.
You know, and the Cooler Company would, you would think they could work together and get some kind of a mutual. That'd be fantastic for both.
Well, I heard that apparently the Utah hockey team did reach out to Yeti, and they basically said like it was a no-go. Like it was a non-starter. Like Yeti had no interest.
Well, then, from the hockey team, me being the vindictive person that I am, if they turn us down, then I'm going just full bore, trying to secure that name, or at least, couldn't you have? Well, we can't produce any shirts that just say Yeti on it. Which, why would you do that anyway?
Why would
what I'm
thinking. We are now the Utah Coleman.
Well,
why would you do that anyway? Why would you just put Yeti on it?
That was my point. Was do you have any equipment, any gear, a hat that just says Blues? I don't think I do. Like everything I have, whenever it says Blues, it says St. Louis Blues.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real easy solution to me for the Utah Yeti to just be like, okay, whenever we want to print the word Yeti, we just got to make sure Utah is next to it.
There are all kinds of rules that people have with their trademarks and logos and usage and how it can be used and what it can be used with. Every company has a booklet, a binder full of rules on how logos and trademarks can be used. And Yeti, you would think that it'd be easy to just say, okay, when we use the term Yeti, it has to be accompanied with Utah on any merchandise or anything.
Fake Beaver says, make it plural unless Yeti copyrighted the plural as well. They did. Yes, it is also, they have copyrighted Yetis as well.
Again,
and he brings up here, Yeti refers to the abominable snowman. It's been a Tibetan myth since forever. Yeah, like I'm looking at it like, let's say some temple in China wants to release clothing of the Yeti. They can't do that because Yeti will be like, nope, we have the clothing rights to Yeti.
They're not a US based company if it's over there, so I'm not sure that they have jurisdiction over that.
Still.
But still, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's weird.
So what we're left with, the three options, and I think the worst case scenario is that they never adopt a nickname and stay Utah Hockey Club forever.
It will forever be the Utah Coyotes if that's the case to me.
Well, it's the Washington football team. Or was
in St. Louis, we could call them the Utah Riverports, and people would know that we're talking about the Coyotes. But the other two are the Mammoth, right? Which is kind of like now you've got a trend with the Kraken, like you've got extinct or mythical creatures in a singular, but The newest one is the Utah Wasatch.
What the hell is that?
Or the Wasatch Range, the mountain range where all the ski resorts are.
I don't like that.
Not terrible, but yeah, I would prefer that over Utah Hockey Club.
Wasatch is, to me, that is a huge non-starter because to me, that name is going to get butchered by non-hockey fans. Like, I don't want to have to talk to somebody and say, "What's a Wasatch?" Don't do that.
I want to meet the person that gets confused between Yeti Coolers and Yeti Hockey Team. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Or okay, so my first joke wasn't as good because Coleman sounds like Coleman, but I was thinking Coleman Coolers. But what about Igloo? The Utah Igloo Coolers.
They should go to Igloo first. Go to Igloo first and say, "Hey, Yeti turned us down. We want you to be our partner. If you'll share the copyright, we'll just
of those three, it's got to be Utah Mammoth, right? That's the one I'm like, okay, I can. That's still not my favorite, but it's better than Hockey Club or Wasatch.
There had to have been better ones than Wasatch that were suggested before.
Oh, I'm sure there were. Storm and Mormons.
The Utah Magic Pajamas.
Oh man. Okay. Well, welcome to the wonderful world of copyrights and registered trademarks. It's
it's a mess.
It's a shit show.
No, you said you've dealt with it. I've dealt with it in some past jobs I've had, and it is a fucking bear, man. There's so many legal things you got to look into.
Yeah, it's not just usage of something that your company has and what you can and can use it for, on, with, how close it is to something else. It's a pain in the ass. So I mean, it's Joe Schmo, the sister wives, the Utah sister wives.
Nice.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. And the mammoth of these three is, I guess, by far the best choice. It's not even close.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, we'll see.
Well, hey, next episode, guys, episode number 500. If you are in St. Louis or surrounding areas, please come out and join us at the Geyer Inn in Kirkwood, real close to the Kirkwood Ice Hockey Rink, 220 South Geyer, 7 o'clock next Wednesday. We will get started at 7. We'll probably go hour and a half-ish. And like I said, we'll do trivia. We got plenty of fun stuff planned. We got giveaways. Going to be a lot of fun. If you're in the area, please come join us. We'd love to meet, shake hands, and kiss your babies because it'll be a damn good time.
You running for office? Kissing babies?
I might be.
Jim Campbell ran for office. I didn't know that. I saw that when I was looking up info. Yeah. I don't think he won, but
he did not.
No.
Camden County. That was the ballot that you posted was Camden County.
Was it Camden County?
Yeah.
Huh. I thought it was the Ozarks, Camden County. No?
It is.
Oh. I didn't know he went down there. I thought it was in, I wasn't even paying attention. I assumed it was somewhere in St. Louis area. Huh. Interesting. I guess it pays to read. That'll wrap up episode 18 of season 14 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast. Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Jeff Ponder and Bill Day, I'm Kurt Price. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues. Let's go show number 500.
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues, and show number 500, Geyer Inn next week, 7 o'clock Wednesday. See you there.
A Mark Goodson television production.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
I found prints! No, fingerprints. I don't think so.
Kmart is more than any store you have. one bit.